प्रकृति विलोक्या मुमुहे सद्य सृजति अरूपा प्रकृति प्रजा विलोक्या मुमुहे सद्य Guna, by the threefold modes, Vichitraha, variegated, Srijatim, creating, Sarupaha, with forms, Prakritim, material nature, Praja, living entities, Vilokya, having seen, Mamuhe, was illusioned, Sadhyaha, at once, Saha, the living entity, Iha, in this world, Jnana Guhaya, by the knowledge covering feature. Translation purport by His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada. Divided into varieties by her threefold modes, material nature creates the form of the living entities. And the living entities, seeing this, are illusioned by the knowledge covering feature of the illusory energy. Purport. Material energy has the power to cover knowledge. But this covering cannot be applied to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It is applicable only to the Praja, or to those who are born with material bodies, the conditioned souls. The different kinds of living entities vary according to the modes of material nature, as explained in the Bhagavad Gita and other Vedic literature. In the Bhagavad Gita 7.12, it is very nicely explained that although the modes of goodness, passion, and ignorance are born of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, He is not subjected to them. In other words, the energy emanating from the Supreme Personality of Godhead cannot act on Him. It acts on the conditioned souls who are covered by the material energy. The Lord is the Father of all living entities because He impregnates material energy with the conditioned souls. Therefore, the conditioned souls get bodies created by the material energy, whereas the Father of the living entity is aloof from the three modes. It is stated in the previous verse that the material energy was accepted the Supreme Personality of Godhead in order that He might exhibit pastimes for the living entities who wanted to enjoy and lord it over the material energy. This world was created through the material energy of the Lord for the so-called enjoyment of the living entities. Why this material world was created for the sufferings of the conditioned soul is a very intricate question. There is a hint in the previous verse in the word Lilaya, which means for the pastimes of the Lord. The Lord wants to rectify the enjoying temperament of the conditioned souls. It is stated in the Bhagavad Gita that no one is the enjoyer but the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This material energy is created, therefore, for anyone who pretends to enjoy. An example can be cited here that there is no necessity for the government's creation of a separate police department, but because it is a fact that some of the citizens will not accept the state laws, a department meant to deal with criminals is necessary. There is no necessity, but at the same time, there is a necessity. Similarly, there is no necessity to create this material world for the sufferings of the conditioned souls. But at the same time, there are certain living entities known as Nitya Baddha, who are eternally conditioned. We say that they are being conditioned from time immemorial because no one can trace out when the living entity, the part and parcel of the Supreme Lord, became rebellious against the supremacy of the Lord. In fact, it is a fact that there are two classes of men: those who are obedient to the laws of the Supreme Lord and those who are atheists or agnostics, who do not accept the existence of God and who want to create their own laws. They want to establish that everyone can create his own laws or his own religious path. Without tracing out the beginning of the existence of these two classes, we can take it for granted that some of the living entities revolted against the laws of the Lord. Such living entities are called conditioned souls, for they are conditioned by the three modes of material nature. Therefore, the word guna vichitraha are used here. In this material world, there are 8,400,000 species of life. As spirit souls, they are all transcendental to this material world. Why then do they exhibit themselves in different stages of life? The answer is given here. They are under the spell of the three modes of material nature. Because they are created by the material energy, their bodies are made of the material elements. Covered by the material body, the spiritual entity is lost. And therefore, the word momohe is used here, indicating that they have forgotten their own spiritual identity. This forgetfulness of spiritual identity is present in jivas or souls who are conditioned, being subject to be covered by the energy of material nature. Jnana guhaya is another word used. Guha means covering. Because the knowledge of the minute conditioned soul is covered, they are exhibited in so many species of life. It is said in the Srimad Bhagavatam 7th canto, 7th chapter, 1st canto, the living entities are illusioned by the material energy. In the Vedas also it is stated that the living entities, eternal living entities, are covered by different modes and they are called tricolored: red, white, and blue living entities. Red is the representation of the mode of passion. White is the representation of the mode of goodness. And blue is the representation of the mode of ignorance. These modes, material nature, belong to the material energy, and therefore the living entities under these different modes of material nature have different kinds of material bodies. Because they are forgetful of their spiritual identities, they think the material body to be themselves. To the conditioned soul, me means the material body. This is called moha or bewilderment. It is repeatedly said in the Katha Upanishad that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is never affected by the influence of material nature. It's rather the conditioned souls or the minute infinitesimal parts and parts of the Supreme who are affected by the influence of material nature appear in different bodies under the material modes. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Sri Guruve Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Yuta Padakamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Sri Rupam Sagrajata Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sachivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Shahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Pada Sahagana Lalita Sri Vishakhanvitamscha Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namaste Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrita Neshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Vipa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Sri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Thank you for coming, dear devotees. It's a rather long purport of Srila Prabhupada. Those of us with poor attention spans may sort of miss out what Prabhupada is saying. But I had to read the purport a couple of times to understand myself what is Prabhupada talking about. It looks complex, the purport, but it is one of the finest purports you can ever read. Prabhupada is taking the pain and the trouble that Prabhupada is very painstakingly using all that he has. We can see Prabhupada is not just writing, he is revealing the most beautiful way what is our status in this world, right? And why is it the way it is? And also, what is the way out of this situation? Where we are, one, why we are, two, and what to do, three, right? So we can see Prabhupada is so systematic. This is the way an Acharya writes. Each and every purport is a complete, is complete in itself, because it is Krishna. Krishna is complete, right? Krishna is Purna Vidam, is Purna, and every part of Krishna is also Purna, right? Similarly, the Bhagavatam itself is Krishna. It is obviously Purna, 80,000 verses. Nonetheless, each and every part also is every sloka also is Purna. And therefore, even if we can understand one purport of Prabhupada's books, Prabhupada said, why not one purport? If you understand in one line, truly speaking, if we just can get one line and deeply carve that line on the surface of our very souls, we will reach our desired goal, the promised land. This particular purport, which Srila Prabhupada is writing, indicates the solidarity and the power of our sampradaya. Because our sampradaya is Madhva, Gaudiya, Vaishnava. And traditionally, you see Madhacharya is always saying this. This is his trademark, right? And how powerful is that? When he does that, it indicates that there is Dvaitavada. Yes, we are followers of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, but Mahaprabhu has synthesized our special sampradaya, what we call as the Gaudiya Sampradaya. So we need to know, as loyal followers of Srila Prabhupada, what is the USP of our sampradaya? And therefore, we have to have this knowledge. What is unique about what we represent? And why is Mahaprabhu's philosophy so thorough and complete? Because we're part of the Madhva also. Two things from Madhva two things from Sri Sampradaya, two from Kumara, two from Rudra. And combining these 8 principles, Mahaprabhu synthesized the completeness of the Gaudiya Sampradaya. Now, today, what we are reading today, is more about the Dvaita part of our Sampradaya. That Prabhupada is very clear that there is no similarity, there is complete difference between the soul and the Supreme Lord. It's very clear, right? Prabhupada is not touching the Achintya Bhedabheda Tattva so much in this purport, as you can see. But he was first established solidly the difference. Unless you understand the difference first, then you can understand the oneness also. Correct? Also, Srila Prabhupada has given these elaborate purports to this particular verse, because as we know, some acharyas Prabhupada has picked up as very special. When he spoke about Kunti Maharani, who was an acharya in the female body, acharyas don't have to be always in the male body, female body, right? Janava Devi is an acharya, female body. So there is no gender problem here. But Kunti Maharani is a praise of Kunti Maharani are so very powerful that down the line devotees have endeavored to understand deeply what she is saying. The first canto, right? And Prabhupada therefore had a book called as The Teachings of Kunti Maharani. Similarly, Prahlad Maharaj, teachings of Prahlad Maharaj. Kapila Dev, teachings of Kapila Dev, right? Now, these books may not be very popular and promoted very widely, but I remember myself as a new fledgling devotee trying to understand the complexity of our philosophy, going through pages of this book, Teachings of Lord Kapila, and trying to relish the meaning of these Prabhupada's purports to each and every of these verses. And therefore I find this purport very illuminating. Prabhupada is clarifying this very important Siddhanta, so there is no confusion. You see, in religious circles, there is so much of confusion about the tattva, right? One of our brahmacharis in our Gopinath Mandir, his name is Gauranga Priya Prabhu, one of my very good friends. He is preaching to a particular type of group of Vaishnavas who are Marwadis. Marwadis is a major business group. Somebody Marwadi here? Anybody Marwadi? So he has been very successful in somehow penetrating that particular community and making them into Vaishnavas, and a large group of devotees for that. It's a very major group of one of the major sections of our temple is the Marwadi group. And I just interacted with him a few days back and I said, Prabhu, how are things going on? And we keep hearing so many nice, wonderful things about how you are doing. So he was telling me that, Prabhu, it is very difficult to actually truly, make them the way what we want. There are some important challenges. I said, what? I said, they all are coming from Rajasthan. In Rajasthan, there are hundreds of philosophies going on. Literally, just one state of India, right? That amount of philosophies which they have, right? They're into tantrics, they are into mysticism and occultism, and they are into worshipping ghosts, and they have temples of ghosts, and they call them as devas, and they actually see miracles happening because they worship this ghost, and because they think they are miracles happening, they think they are the gods. They are gods themselves, and therefore they have a lot of faith in those ghosts and devas, whom they call as gods. And then for them to convince that, okay, whatever they are, but the Supreme God is Krishna, right? And then explain all that So I was just thinking that how, when you start preaching the way he is doing, you understand that each and every person is following some sort of a aberrant path. Everyone is following something. See, nobody is not following nothing. right? Everyone is following something. There is someone who has kept in uncountable as his role model or his philosophy, some philosophy, either it be hedonistic philosophy or mystical philosophy or some philosophy, which is what he said, this is what I want to follow, right? But among all those varieties of what people can potentially follow, to get them to follow one particular path and get all those cobwebs cleared from their consciousness, right? Each and every one, remove all the fibers of cobwebs like you have in a house, the house which is like not used for 100 years. How much cobweb will be there? So living in the material world for millions of lifetimes, right? How many cobwebs we have gathered? And to clear all those confusions, right? Chatudarpana Marjanam, clear all that and make them understand what is Krishna, what is Jiva, and what are the energies of Krishna. Right? Prabhu is talking about today about the Bahiranga Shakti and the Antaranga Shakti. Superior and more so about the Parashakti and Aparashakti, correct? Superior and inferior energies. Prabhu is saying very clearly that the sun cannot be affected by darkness. Very important philosophy part is Krishna, Surya, Sama, Maya, Hoya, Andhakar. Yahan Krishna, Tahan Nahi, Mayar, Adhikar. There are only two things in this world, Krishna and Maya. There's nothing third, there's nothing else. The whole world, the whole creation with billions of universes has only two things, Krishna and Maya. It's very important to understand that, right? So where there is Krishna, there is no Maya, right? So Krishna like the sun, Krishna Surya Sama. Now, do we ever see darkness on the sun? It is the most brilliant of all planets, illuminating the entire universe. So there is no question of ever anything covering, affecting the sun. And yet we see that if you go now, you don't see the sun. If you go out right now, you can see from the window, you don't see the sun is not there. The sun is covered. How do we explain this philosophical dichotomy? If sun is the source of all brilliant light, how is the sun is getting covered? The problem is, the sun is not covered. You are covered. I am covered. Right? So if you just go in an airplane, we came yesterday from airplane, right? And you go, the plane flies almost always above the clouds, is it not? On average, 37,000 feet, right? We above. So when you fly at that height, the clouds cannot reach that. It is beyond, right? So you are actually above the cloud. Then there is no covering. Then you can see sun is there. Yesterday in the morning from Paris, I saw the sun and offered my obeisance to the sun. The sun was shining very brilliantly there in the morning, right? And I offered my prayers to Surya Narayan. So we are covered. We are closer to the clouds. And the clouds cover our vision. And yet, the clouds are an energy of the sun itself. Right? There cannot be clouds in this world unless there was a sun, is it not? Can there be clouds without the sun? The sun has no independent, the clouds have no independent existence. They are a product of the evaporation of the oceanic waters, which actually sublimate and go up, and they actually coagulate together and form a huge mass of millions and millions of gallons of water, which is floating. This is always quite mystical, right? How Krishna can store water in, we require tanks, water tanks. This building may not be a great building, but there are skyscraper buildings, but they have water tanks, right? Huge water tanks you supply. Now, Krishna who have a water tank, he makes the water tank float. Right? And at the particular way, the temperature is modulated, and then it starts discharging water again and comes as rainfall. How wonderful is that? What is this called? Achintya Shakti. Krishna's inconceivable potency. So yes, the clouds are formed by the sun, and they appear to cover the sun, but the real fact is they're covering our eyes. And therefore, we conclude the sun is covered. And we never make him understand that, no, it is I am covered. And therefore, when Krishna comes and Ramchandra comes, people tend to think that he is covered. But in fact, you and I are covered. There's a very nice pastime in the Sri Ramayana. Mother Sita is kidnapped, right? Everyone knows the story from Panchavati. She is kidnapped, Nasik. And the Lord is not there. The Lord is down there, maybe hundreds of miles away, chasing the Maricha demon. And then Maricha shouts, and then Lakshman also follows, and you know the whole story, right? And then Ram says, "You are here." Sita is alone, right? And he preempts that something is going to go wrong now, because this demon has loudly shouted, "Lakshman, Lakshman, Lakshman," as if in a desperate call. And they all start sprinting rapidly towards Panchavati again. And they find jewelry, flower garlands, flowers strewn here and there, trees, bushes, upheaval is there. You can see some struggle has taken place here. And they conclude that Mother Sita has been kidnapped. And Ram goes into such a shoka, there's such a amount of melancholy and you can also say depression for having lost his dear wife, right? He is unconsolably sobbing at the loss of his dear devotee and dear wife. And Lakshman is trying to console him, right? And Ram is saying to the trees and to the bushes and to the sky and to the deer and to the mountains, "Is there someone around who can tell me where my dear Sita?" He's desperate. He gets angry. He starts crying. And he's showing such immense, intense emotions. Now, Ram is a very sober person, right? He's dheer, gambhir. Ram is never like this. So for Lakshman, it's difficult. My brother is showing a type of mood which he has never, I've never seen him over the years. I know him since my birth, but he's never been like this. He's always very, very calm. Even when he was, Mantra took away the throne very treacherously from him. When he found out this, that Kaikeyi has given this boons to Darshan Maharaj, he remained very poised. And what has happened to my brother like this? So he was finding it difficult to also, sort of relate to his brother's new mood. And then up there, Parvati and Lord Shiva are sitting there. And Parvati tells, and of course, Ram is watching, Shivaji is watching Lord Ramchandra, because he is worshipable Lord, right? Shivaji is always meditating on Lord Ramchandra. And they are watching, and Parvati is saying, "Prabhu, what has happened to your Lord? How is he? Is he all right?" He seems to be really badly affected. And so it appeared very clearly that he is affected like an ordinary man who has lost his wife. For a man to lose his wife, to kidnap, man will go berserk. Obviously, he'll go berserk. He won't know what he is doing, what he is saying. He will do frantically, he'll go phone somebody, call somebody, and he will be desperate. He will show various types of emotions. It is just like an ordinary model like ourselves. If we lose our dear partner in life, we will go berserk. This is similar happening to Lord Ramchandra. So Lord Shiva, he just smiles. And he says, "Oh, my Prabhu is showing such wonderful emotions." Lord Shiva is fully understanding what Ram is doing. But Sita is in a state of confusion. Is he affected like an ordinary mortal or not? And as Ram is passing by and desperately looking here and there, he sees a beautiful lady, right? And he sees a lady, and from his emotional outburst, he just says, "Namaskar. My dear lady, what are you doing alone? My dear Parvati, What are you doing alone in the jungle? Where is your Lord? You should not be in the jungle. The jungle is a very dangerous place. Rakshasas, pythons, snakes, everything there. Right? You should go back to your abode of Kailash. Our obeisances, and Prabhupada realizes he is not an illusion. And Parvati again goes back to Kailash, right? And that is just at a bend when Lakshman is not seeing this. Lakshman did not see this part. There's a bend in the forest, and Lakshman misses this part. And then Shivji and Lord Ram and Parvati interact like this, and then Parvati goes back. And when the Lakshman comes from the bend, and Ram again sort of goes back into a state of melancholy and says, "Where is my wife?" So Lord Ram is never affected, right? Krishna is never affected by lust the way people portray him. One of the most misunderstood persons in the world is Krishna. It's a fact. It's a fact. Naham prakasha sarvasa mudhoyam nabhijanat. Right? When I take this human form, the mood does not understand what is my real nature. It requires an acharya like Srila Prabhupada, right, to make it clear what Krishna is, what is his activities. Therefore, Krishna, when he says himself, Janma, Karma, Samay, Dipyam. Ramchandra also, Janma, Karma, Samay, Dipyam. Narsingadev, Janma, Karma, Samay, Dipyam. All that is of the Lord are Divya. But we are all in a covered state, right? So our state of consciousness is such that we are always covered. It's very important to understand this, that Maya has got two types of potencies, Avaranatmika and Prashikatmika. Avaranatmika means Avaran. It's a Sanskrit Hindi word. Avaran, we understand. Avaran means that which covers. So we are covered as soon as we actually rebel against the Lord. And as we start falling to the material world, the first covering is the covering of Ahankar. That is our first initial covering. It is the most powerful covering. It is so sukshma. The covering of the body can be seen. The soul is covered by the body, right? We have a soul inside, and the body is there. 60, 70, 80, 100 kilos, 150 kilos covering. In America, you see 150 kilos people, right? Huge covering of the soul. But the body is not very powerful. Not at all powerful. Very fragile. More powerful than the body is the mind. More powerful than mind is intelligence. But the most powerful is the Ahankar. Unless the Ahankar is cracked, the soul cannot reveal its actual nature. Like you crack a coconut and the water comes out. Right? Or crack a nut's shell covering, the walnut, and crack the walnut shell, the walnut comes out. Right? Similarly, the soul is covered by Ahankar. And a symptom of the covering of the soul is twofold. The moment the soul is covered, it goes into aberrant state of existence. It is no longer going to exist in its actual state. And everything the soul will do thereafter, after this first covering takes place, is based on the premise of I and mine. Everything the soul will do thereafter, in whatever species of life the soul goes into, of the 8 main forms of species spectrum available, right? In every species, it can only act on the premise of these two misunderstandings of this is I and this is mine. There is absolutely no third probability of the soul acting on any other premise than this. It's the only paradigm which works for the conditioned soul, I and mine. You know the third paradigm. And as Prabhupada used to often say, this takes various forms in a practical way. As Prabhupada always say this, I'm American, I'm Indian. How many of you heard that in Prabhupada's lectures, right? I'm American, I'm Indian, I'm Jain, I'm Parsi, I'm Hindu, I'm Muslim. We can see again and again, Prabhupada talks about this. In every lecture, probably he talked about this. And we may think, this we heard many times, Prabhupada. But no, it is the most fundamental thing Prabhupada is talking about. Unless you clear up that fundamentals, you can't go to the higher realms of bhakti. In bhakti, you cannot think of I and mine. Bhakti, by definition, is thinking about accepting Krishna's vision as your vision. Our vision, our contempt vision, makes you think I and mine. But if we are going to think as bhaktas, and through the bhakti paradigm, we have to relinquish this I and mine conceptualization of existence. Right? And therefore, Prabhupada simply says one line. Everything belongs to Krishna. How perfect is that? If you could only understand this one line, and life would be perfect. Everything means what? Everything means everything. Literally everything. My body, my money. If you could understand everything, my money also belongs to Krishna. We would never have any financial problems in ISKCON. We struggle for money. Our TOP is struggling for Lakshmi. Oh, TOP is going to take so much time to build. And Nityananda Prabhu had to go, Paduka had to go, with Jalanidas Prabhu, Pankaj Prabhu going with the begging bowl practically. Nityananda Prabhu's Paduka going here and there, all over. They must have come here also. I don't know. Did they come here? They came here. Everywhere they have to go, some of the greatest Brahmans Vaishnavas of our society had to go out with a begging bowl on Nityananda Prabhu's behalf, right? Because that money is so dear to us. We may not love Narayan so much, but definitely we love Lakshmi. She is very dear to us. Narayan also dear to us, but not so much as dear as Lakshmi. Everything belongs to Krishna. Arpilu tuapade Nanda Kishore Manasa Deho Giho Yoki Chumo Arpilu tuapade Nanda Kishore. Whatever I have, Thakur was going to say, my manasa, my deha, my geha. Geha means home, right? Arpilu tuapade, right? So this is the way a devotee would like to live in this world. This is the beginning actually of true spiritual life. And why is this wonderful? Because this is the only way the soul can be happy. Till the soul lives on the paradigm of I and mine, the soul cannot be happy. Why? Because it is artificial to be an enjoyer. This is I, this is mine, this is whatever is mine is for me to enjoy, right? Now, if you extend this paradigm from a simple people like you and me to a person who an expanded way thinks like that in a huge way, I and mine, you come to demonic existence. Ravan, I and mine. Hiranyakashipu, I and mine. Right? So the more this becomes thick, understanding thicker, it goes into the demonic realm. right? Where everything you see should become mine. If you see a nice Apsara, she should be mine. If you see a nice Pushpa Viman of Kubera, that should be mine. If you see a beautiful lady like Mother Sita, she should be mine. Everything should be mine, right? And that is the problem. That is demoniac. Nothing is ours, right? You know the story of Alexander the Great, right? When he died, he wrote this. You heard this story, I'm sure, before, right? When he died at the age of 32 years, very young man. You know, people say malaria, people say mandibular cancer, whatever it was, we don't know. But when he died, he told his followers, he said, you take me on my Antim Yatra, my final procession to the graveyard, crematorium, right? With my hands outstretched outside like this. Nice coffin with the hand stretched outside. And on the road, you strew all the jewels and rubies that I have. Now, he was a sort of a big terrorist looter, right? He just came and looted. That's what he was. Just powerful. He just looted people, kingdoms, palaces. He looted and put it into his own treasury. So he put all this on the sides. Let the world see. Alexander had brought nothing. Alexander the Great is also taking nothing. So keep my hands outstretched like this toward the sky. I came with empty hands and I go with empty hands. Prabhupada used to say, and between, we come empty, we go empty, but between that we say, all this is mine. And between those two realities of life, before birth and after death, for those few years that we live, 60, 70 years, we say, all this is mine. Right? So the real principle of a true Gaudiya follower is Vairagya Vidya Nija Bhakti Yogam. Shikshartham Eka Purusha Purana. Shri Krishna Sarira Dhari Kripa Mudir Yastavam Parpati. Gauranga Bhakta Ganer Vairagya Pradhan. Right? A true follower of Gauranga Mahaprabhu, he practices this in his life. This is what we have to deeply inculcate in our life. Right? That everything belongs to Krishna. My family also belongs to Krishna. Therefore, I try to serve Why I serve my family? Why am I servant of my family? Why wife serving husband, husband serving wife? Why is husband and wife both serving children? Right? Because it is Krishna's family. Right? So when we live on that platform, then there is true happiness. No matter what we possess or don't possess. When you possess this consciousness itself is enriching. Whether we have things of this world or not is incidental. In Mahaprabhu's Leela, we can see on one hand you have Shuklamra Brahmachari, other hand Bharat Pratap Rudra. Right? Here is a person who possesses the entire kingdom of Bengal. Everything in Bengal was a very powerful kingdom at that time. The Gajapatis were very powerful. His father and his son, Purushottam Jana, all these people, very powerful personalities. They were able to conquer large parts of the eastern side of India. Extend again very, very broad. They came up to the south also. So, on one side, he is the king of Bengal, and you have Subramanian Brahmachari, he is a beggar. He's a beggar. Right? You would go back to house, you would go to only 10 places every day. And whatever you get from 10 places, some chipped rice, some dried rice, and some whatever, roti, whatever must be there. You just put it in his begging bowl, a jhola around his neck, and he would eat from that. But in Mahaprabhu's eyes, he gave the same love to, in fact, he gave more love to Shukla Brahmachari. But sometimes he rejected the king. So, no, you are a king, you are Vishayi, you are this, you have got this title of king, and I don't want to meet you and all that, right? But he gave so much love to him. But ultimately, of course, Mahaprabhu knew his heart, and he welcomed, embraced him at Balagandi, to Rath Yatra. Why did Mahaprabhu do this? Right? Because the king had this consciousness that nothing is mine. Everything belongs to Krishna. And how did he depict that? That even though he was in Rath Yatra, he took the broom in his hand and he swept. My dear Lord, I am not the king. You are the king. I am simply a servant and I want to clean the road when you are passing by. So when he cleaned the road and my Mahaprabhu saw that, I'll give my mercy. Right? So the more and more we live on this particular platform, when Mahaprabhu was, this is very beautiful. How Mahaprabhu loves his devotees who live on this, with this state of consciousness. If you want to become dear to the Lord, we have to live with this state of consciousness, which is revealed beautifully in this pastime. Now, we know the Mahaprabhu has marched with this huge procession to the house of Chandkazi, right? Millions of people are following with mashal, torchlights in their hands, right? Illuminating practically the night sky. And they were marching towards his home, which is the Mathura of Navadvip. Mathura, that is. All the dhams are represented in Navadvip. So Kazi is, of course, Kamsa, right? From Gaur Lila, from Krishna Lila. So they have this big debate and he's defeated, the last time, right? And then Mahaprabhu, after having defeated this very powerful demon, whom he had knocked off with one blow in the Krishna Lila, right, and killed him, he had debated with them and he embraced them afterwards. And Kazi was crying tears of love of Godhead was flowing from his eyes, right? It just changed his heart. Mahaprabhu had a bloodless revolution process of changing people's hearts without even, using his chakra. Very rarely uses chakra, once or twice only in his life. And what does Mahaprabhu do thereafter is very significant. Defeating big Keshav Kashmiri and Pratapruta Maharaj, Prakash Saraswati is not the greatest thing. Mahaprabhu is the source of all knowledge. So it is very, he just Sarabhatacharya and all, he just defeated them in argument. But what he did after that, this great victory, is very significant. Where did the Lord go after defeating Chandkazi? Anybody knows? Huh? Yes. He went to the humble small hut of Kolocha Sridhar. Now here the person who has nothing, and literally nothing, already had the dented pot, which Radhan Maharaj says was so dented, even the most desperate thief would not even want to look at it again. If you had to steal something, he said, this is not worthy of by looking at it again also. It is so dented and so sort of maybe whatever it was, it's not worth even stealing. It will not give me anything. But Mahaprabhu went to his home and he drank water from that pot. Said, never in my life I have tasted something so wonderful. This is nectarian. What is Mahaprabhu tasting that water? Now we drink water every day. You don't get exotic symptoms like Mahaprabhu had. Whether it's in a golden cup or a plastic cup or whatever. What is water for us? Doesn't. But from a dented pot, Mahaprabhu went into ecstasy. Right? In the Mahaprakash Leela, what we're seeing over here, the Lord had offered so much Sridhar that I'm very pleased with you. Ask for benediction. And he said, I will give you 8 mystic siddhis. What will I do with that? It will just be a disturbance. I'll become the king of heaven, Indra. So no, I don't want that. Right? The question is, what attracts Krishna to help us remove that avaran of ahankar? That is what we are discussing today. How will that avaran of ahankar be removed? It cannot be removed by the Jivatma himself. There is no process in the world. Mysticism, Jnana Yoga, Karma Yoga, nothing. Raja Yoga, Kriya Yoga, nothing. Nothing in the world can destroy the ahankar. The Lord has a prerogative that only when He is pleased with the Jivatma will He help him to remove this avran of ahankar. And that the soul's pure qualities will manifest like the sun again. When he sees genuine service attitude and the behavior of his devotees, the Lord is very pleased. And no matter how much contamination is there, it doesn't care, doesn't matter. However contaminated you are, Krishna does not see that. Patra na dekhi. He's contaminated. He's not contaminated. He's pure. He's impure. He doesn't bother about that. What the Lord wants to see is a humble, genuine service attitude. When he sees that attitude, that purchases the Lord. And when he's pleased, he awards that particular Jivatma freedom from the bondage of ahankar or worst enemy. As long as ahankar is there, we will always think in terms of I and mine and never think differently. Janasya mohoyam ahankar, Prahlad Maharaj says very clearly. Right? We'll always think like that. And till we think like that, we can never become purified. How can we become purified with that conception heavy on our consciousness? Everything is I and mine. Oh, that is contaminated to our consciousness. Then how can you really purify yourself? It's not possible. Right? Then we will be in enjoying mode. Everything will be enjoyment. We will enjoy lectures. We'll enjoy Krishna, beautiful form. We'll enjoy prasadam. We'll still be coming to Krishna consciousness only for what? For enjoying. Right? So we will enjoy Krishna consciousness. What is Krishna consciousness all about? Krishna should enjoy. What I should wear. How is the nice prasadam today? Today's prasadam is not very good. I don't know why they make such nice prasadam. They should make nice prasadam. So we come to temple for what? For enjoying Krishna consciousness. So even when that platform is there, even though we are in bhakti, that enjoying tendency is so strong that we enjoy association of our guru, we enjoy prasadam, we enjoy the festival, So it is better, of course, than enjoying gross material existence. It's far better than that. So let's not condemn that part. And yet it falls short of the real essence of bhakti. What is that? Samsiddhir, not jivatoshanam. This is samsiddhir, haritoshanam. Right? So we are here for them. We are here for Krishna's pleasure. We are here for Prabhupada's pleasure. When we live with that state of consciousness, then we find Ina Atma Suprasidati. Then we are completely satisfied. And whatever ups and downs we go through in our society, this and that, is all right. We can accommodate all these aberrancies, some upheavals in whatever happens around us, that's all right. But as long as I am here for Krishna, right? So this is the beauty of Madhumara Puri went through so much difficulty. Was he enjoying walking through the jungles? Was he enjoying carrying those big load of 82 pounds of chandan wood and some 70 pounds of camphor? Was he enjoying all that? He was an old man, right? He wasn't a young teenager walking through the jungle. Oh, yeah, I will go and get it. He was an old man. But why was he very happy? This will please Krishna. Right? So what I may go through some difficulties because of my conditioned nature and this and that. Prabhupada was not thinking about himself. Prabhupada was thinking about Even through difficulties himself, we all know Prabhupada's journey and everything else he did in his life. But this is for Krishna's pleasure. So we, when we do the cooking or cleaning or dressing or chanting, especially chanting, this is for Krishna's pleasure. I am chanting. Wouldn't it be nice if we do with that consciousness rather than, Mati, rounds are over. Rounds are over. You finish your rounds? I finished my rounds. Right? This is for Krishna's pleasure. So let us embrace this beautiful consciousness which Prabhupada has taught us. This is the essence of bhakti. Essence of bhakti comes out so beautifully. And when we live by that paradigm, then as I said here, then you no longer remain nitya baddha. Till we don't take this consciousness, we remain nitya baddha. Right? And then if we accept this consciousness, we become what? We become jivan mukta. Iha yasa arer dasya karmana manasa gira. Nigra swapi avasthasu jivan mukta sa uchyate. Jiva Goswami says. Then we become jivan mukta. That is the state, that is the goal of our life. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much. Very beautiful class.
Hare Krishna.
You had later said that. Okay, already. So, very beautiful, thought-provoking, very much. You all are very much better. My question is probably like what I see myself is it's easy for me to relate to devotees. It's difficult for me to relate to Krishna. Like if I'm cooking something, I'm cooking for devotees. Okay, so this action will please devotees. So this is something I can do. But then doing something for Krishna is like it's kind of artificial for me. So please share how like is this like once we become more Krishna conscious, then we start taking on Krishna's pleasure. Okay, some nice.
On the absolute platform, three things. Bhagavan, Bhakti, and Bhakta are the same. This is the Gaudiya understanding, right? We are followers of Achinta Vedavada Tattva, and yet we accept the oneness of Bhagavan, Bhakti, and Bhakta. And therefore, if the way you are saying is the way you are conducting your Krishna consciousness, it is totally acceptable to the Lord. Because you are seeing, you are looking on the platform of the oneness of the Lord and his devotees. In fact, in the 4th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, Pithu Maharaj is teaching that I eat to the mouth of my devotees. So we offer him to Krishna directly also. And he eats that because Vaishnavas are offering a devotion. That's fine, wonderful. But that is not as relishable. Even though the best Bhagavan is made, he will honor that, he will eat that, he will bless the devotee who's made it, offered it, cooked it, whatever, he'll offer, he'll be pleased. But the taste is not the best. The taste of Krishna is best when that same thing is offered to his devotees. And when the devotee says, wow. And Krishna says, oh, my devotee is right. So Krishna, just like the fire, yagya, make yagya. Yagya is the mouth of yagya purusha, right? Sahuti, swaha, swaha, swaha. It is the mouth of Agni. It says swaha. Swaha means the mouth opens, ha, mouth closes. So between the two swaha, we have to put the ahuti, correct? So if you're late, then that ahuti is not gone in the mouth. So the Purohit will tell you, you do it when Swaha says you put it inside. So we have to be very alert. We are spacing out. So that is Yagya Purusha eats through the Agni. Agni is the mouth of Yagya Purusha. Similarly, Krishna eats the mouth of his devotees. I will not forget this. Many years ago, we were at Vrindavan with that yatra by Radhanath Swami Maharaj. And then it was Prabhupada's Disappearance Day festival, centennial, 1996. And obviously, they were going to expect so many devotees to come. Vrindavan is Prabhupada's home, right? And they were wondering, how do we, the temple was wondering, how will we take care of so many devotees, infrastructure and all that, when we make them sit, thousands of people will be coming, Brijbas will be coming. The Prabhupada is a very popular among Brijbas also. How will we handle them? So they thought, let us give this whole team of devotees come from Chowpatty. Let us give this service to them, right? Because they are managing such a big yatra, so they have some systems in place. So they would have it, and people like Gaurang Prabhu and other are there. So these guys will figure it out, right? So they told the devotees that you will, if you can do this seva, we'll be very happy with you. And Maharaj took a meeting of some of the volunteers, and then they asked who wants to be volunteer for serving on that day. So then, devotees like, can I? So then, who are, I think, about 40, 50 devotees who were chosen. And Maharaj gave a talk to everybody. Because Maharaj said, the first line he opened up, he said, now this is 1996, right? So by this time, Maharaj has taken dozens of yatras, before. So Maharaj said, today, the mature fruit of all the yatras has been achieved. Because we are getting a chance to serve Prabhupada's disciples, Prabhupada's followers on his centennial anniversary. This is the fruit you are getting now. And then he went to the depth of how to serve. Because for a service means you take a pot, take that baldi, the bucket, take the ladle, you take it and put the dal, put the rice, and you keep on moving like that, right? And that's serving for us. It's a very mechanistic process. Krishna consciousness means proper consciousness to be there. Maharaj said, each and every devotee who sits in the line is a deity. Treat him like a deity of the Lord. Right? And the way you serve him with love, with a smile, with that attitude that please accept. You're not just putting the prasad on his plate. You just put the prasad and you go away to the next rice, dal, pakoda. No. Your mood is please accept. And when the pakoda is over, you go again and say, please accept. And the person is, whether you want to eat pakoda or not, looking at your face says, okay, put two. So then when that attitude of pleasing the Vaishnavas is there, right? That is actually perfection of your seva. That even if he's not hungry, if he's accepting that prasad from your hand, because you're offering with so much of love. And please remember, he said, Krishna will eat to the mouth of the devotees. This I'm paraphrasing what Maharaj taught us in this particular yatra. So if this is the way you're thinking, then you are perfectly situated. Because for us, the madhyam is the medium. The medium to serve Krishna is Krishna's devotees. Who can ever, have the audacity to think that I can serve Krishna directly? That is prerogative only of Sri Radha, Rashtra Sakhas, and Rashtra Sakhis, right? And Krishna's 106,008 queens. They are the prerogative of thinking that they are serving Krishna directly, right? But people like you and me, conditioned souls here, our madhyam, medium for serving Krishna is through serving whatever pleases Krishna's devotees. It is not just yes, prasada, bhagavad prasado. It also what pleases Krishna's devotees will, in fact, it's a better way, because whatever pleases Guru will please Krishna, that we already know. Or whatever pleases devotees, will please Prabhupada, will please Krishna. That's still the mood of Das, Das, and Anudas. That's the perfect way our Gaudiyas want to understand. Is it all right? Hare Krishna.
Please accept my humble obeisances that you're about to speak with these very, very inspiring and very divine atmosphere was created in the speaking. So very grateful to you for creating that kind of atmosphere. So my question is through a very enlightening class about that point that how not desiring enjoyment, enjoying Krishna consciousness. So my question is that I feel like whenever I get absorbed, like during this class, I was able to absorb myself by mercy. And so I didn't see the time of so much concern. So when my understanding is when you're absorbed, then you don't worry about enjoying, you don't worry about the result of anything. So how do we always absorb? Because naturally, like I'm speaking about myself, like I see sleeping and eating as a break. Okay, now it's a break, B-R-E-A-K. So, but then Krishna consciousness means to always be in the present, to always relish and to always be absorbed. So, how to attain that higher taste of just being absorbed and not worrying about the result?
The result. You got a very beautiful word, absorption. This is again a small incidence of when Raghunath Maharaj was with Satyanandan Swami Maharaj in our temple. So he said, Swamiji, can you really concise the entire purpose of Krishna consciousness in one word? You know, and Maharaj, Satyan Maharaj immediately came out his own word, absorption. Absorption. So your question is how to increase our absorption? 2-3 examples come to my mind. You are giving your postgraduate final exam. You will determine your entire career, and you are only 2 days away from your exam. What will be a state of your consciousness? Will you be watching television, playing video games? This is your last important revision for the exam. Every moment you will use for learning what we all got, because you know it's a very important thing. So all of us go through exams, so there's a familiar example for all of us, right? What happens to us? We're fully absorbed in our books. The book is in front of you. You're fully absorbed. And more intense than that example would be if you're in the ocean and the rope has been sent from the helicopter, right? And you're holding that rope. Are you absorbed in holding it or not absorbed in holding it? If you are unabsorbed, right, you start looking at dolphins which are sometimes jumping off the ocean like that. Nice dolphin, huh? Very nice dolphin, right? We will be holding that rope. The rope is equal to life or death. That is what the rope is all about. It is either living and getting salvaged by the helicopter, or when you lose it, you're deabsorbed, or getting eaten by the sharks. What is the choice? There's no choice here. You will be holding that with your life dear. Right? So, what makes things us absorb is a sense of urgency. And that is what we want to cultivate, right? Maharaj Parikshit, he knew this is urgent need. I'm going to die in 7 days. There's no spacing out for anything, not for a nap, not for a lunch break, breakfast break. He is sitting there 7 days, 7 nights. Urgent, I'm going to die. So unless we realize our precarious position in the material world, now the three modes are picking us all the time and forcing us to live a life of unlimited creation of karma. The karmic cycle is building upon me so much into such a complex chain. I can never unchain myself from these complexities. Each time I am acting in the modes of three modes simultaneously, I'm creating a karma. Right? How can I ever become free from this endless cycle of birth and death? So unless a Vaishnava, unless a practicing devotee like you and me understand our precarious state of existence in this world, of the cycle of birth and death, and disease and old age in between that. So in the Gita, as you know, and what Krishna says is knowledge. These are things I consider as knowledge. The list is given. One of the items there is the perception of the existence of birth and death. Is it not? I'm sure you remember that, right? One of the items of knowledge. So unless we are able to perceive the dangers of this material existence, we will not become absorbed. We will be lax and loose. Right? So to some extent, knowing the horrors of material existence is important. So the devotee cultivates his consciousness on two fronts. Cultivation. Anushilana means cultivation. When you cultivate Krishna consciousness, you want to cultivate on a very balanced, solid platform. And that is the real track is twofold. One is knowing the glories of the spiritual world. Krishna's Vrindavan Leela, the Lord Ramachandra's Leela. So Leela Smaranam, Leela Shramanam is one aspect of Krishna consciousness, but that alone is not sufficient, even though it is perfect. Unless we also are on the other track of knowing the perils of material existence, we cannot truly absorb ourselves into that. By the time you will hear it only with a sense of entertainment. Wow, wonderful, wonderful. Maharaj, you said so wonderfully today. Wonderfully, yes, it is obviously wonderful because Krishna is wonderful. But did we take shelter of that Leela? The shelter-giving potency of the Lord will only come to our rescue the moment we start understanding the perils of material existence. Adhyatmik, Adibhautik, Adidaivik, miseries. The Sanatana Goswami is crying to Mahaprabhu like that. Yami, Kyo more Japatroyo. I'm suffering with simple politics. I'm not even understanding my precarious situation. Who am I? And how do I get out of this threefold miseries? That is the crying heart of Sanatana Goswami or Sambandha Acharya. So Sambandha with Krishna starts off with the understanding of our precarious situation in the material world. That is why Sambandha Acharya is speaking like that. And because he's speaking like that, then Mahaprabhu tells him this about the powerful universal sloka. Jivara Swarup hoy, Krishna Nityadas. Right? Unless we understand this, we can't understand that. So absorption is the net result of the awareness of the sufferings of not being Krishna conscious. Right? And the moment we understand that clearly, we will get absorbed in our chanting, in our seva, in our whatever doing in the realm of Krishna consciousness. We will get absorbed. Because we are not understanding that clearly. What happens in devotional life is that, the six symptoms of devotion, six aspects of Shuddha Bhakti, Prema Bhakti. First is Klishagni, right? And then is Subhada. So when Klishagni, and what happens in Klishagni is that because we become devotees, more or less we have a reasonably good life afterwards. Till we don't come to Krishna consciousness, we are like suffering because of our greed, because of our lust, because of our anger. We keep on suffering like crazy, right? Every time we get into all that, we get battered by our lust and greed, right? But we come to bhakti, more or less our lust gets subdued, greed gets subdued, and all living our. So that klesha agni goes, the agni of klesha means suffering. The Krishna agni goes subdued. So we feel life is not so bad anymore. I mean, I'm very comfortable now. And that is nice because, we have given up all that existence. And therefore, that actually can convert into complacency. And complacency is the opposite of urgency. Is an antonym of urgency. Right? So that is what the type of catch you and I get into. And that sort of takes away from the sense of urgency. But when you hear the suffering of material existence, that if I come back to the material world in the next life, look at what is waiting for me. Oh my God, this world, you cannot handle it. I just can't handle this world anymore. Mahaprabhu, when he took sannyas, in his taking sannyas, he told Bharati Maharaj, please give me sannyas. Bharati Maharaj saying, what are you talking, my dear son? You're only a 24-year-old boy. What about your wife? You are so beautiful, right? Why don't you sannyas? Sannyas is to be taken after 50 years of age. Brahmachari, grace, 1% and then sannyas. So Keshav Maharaj rejects that the offer of Nimai Pandit to become a sannyasi. And what is Mahaprabhu's response there? He said, I don't know when I will die. I may die any time. And what happens if I die? Right? How will I become Krishna conscious? How will I become liberated from material bondage? So another thing which helps us in becoming sense of urgency is the awareness that I might die anytime. Which Maharaj is saying, oh yeah, he died, she died, he died of heart attack, he died of earthquake, he died of cancer, but I will not die. The religion is also affecting us. You may think that I am so young, I may think I've got about 30, 40 years to live at least in the world. But we can die anytime. This is the moment I have. And therefore, when we live in the present conscious state of consciousness, then we want to give our best to that time. I do not know. Prabhupada says very clearly, we do not know whether we have 5 more minutes to live in this world or not. We don't know. And COVID showed us very clearly that COVID, we can learn some examples, something from the COVID pandemic will be wiser. Young people died and old survived. Yeah, so how can we be so sure that we will live? That will also add to our state of absorption. But I don't have much time. Let me make the best of what I have. Some thoughts. Is it all right?
Thank you very much for your meeting.
Hare Krishna. We have time for more questions, or should we wind up, or I don't know. We should stop. 10 minutes. You have to decide. You are the Prabhu and I am the servant. So
explanation. So I would like to in our life we plan out many things. Okay, I will do this, I will do that, I will do this. So what do you think is the most important that we have to achieve and complete before that last moment comes? Highest priority, anything like that.
The way I think about this question is, I want to at least the stage of nishtha before I die. You see, we are in the process of knowing of 9 ladders of the bhakti, right? Adhashraddha, sadhusanga, bhajana kriya, nothing within nishtha, which is asakti, bhava prema, correct? So, the initial part is fledgling shraddha. Not very sure. This way, that way, this way. But when a significant amount of understanding takes place, you come to nishtha. Nishtha means Prabhupada says firm faith. Right? So from the firm faith platform, we are so convinced about Krishna consciousness that it is difficult to get dislodged from that platform. Even though the example of Bharat Maharaj of Bhava Bhakti, falling down is there. But it's a rare and extreme example Bhagavatam gives. But by and large, Anishta is a platform of strong stability in Krishna consciousness as far as the faith is concerned. What is Krishna consciousness? It's just the growth of our faith. From faithlessness, before we were devotees, we were almost faithless. Yeah, does it work? These Hare Krishnas, they're mad people, they are CIA agents, they're druggists. We may have had so many conceptions of, but now we know income said, oh, this is all saintly people staying here, right? So we from faithlessness, we will develop into complete faith. So before we leave this mortal frame, if we can resolve that I perform bhakti with such intensity that I get rid of my anarthas to a significant extent and reach the stage of nishtha. And systems of nishtha are given by our acharyas. We can read that. So I was thinking that that's the way most of us should, not most of, that's the way I would think about myself. That at least there, then I'll get a decent birth next time if I reach nishtha. The struggle will be less thereafter. The struggle is less thereafter. Till the nishtha, there's a lot of struggle. So we all are going through that stage, more or less. In Jagannath Puri, the ocean waves are flowing towards the shore, right? So the initial part to navigate through those waves and reach, when you just see about 100 feet away from the shore, the waves are very less. But as the water comes to the shore, there is, so somebody is a very raw swimmer, like myself. No, I'm not even hardly a swimmer, right? The moment you go there, so bhakti becomes like that for us. You try to go towards the higher realms and you're thrown back by your lower nature, back to the shore, right? But so you can battle through that and navigate through the initial backlashing, right? And reach the more deeper part of the ocean. Of why I'm coming to the ocean? Because bhakti is like an ocean. Bhakti is Samrita Sindhu. We are in the Sindhu, right? So, but the moment we go beyond those initial rough waves, you can see that things are much more calm. And when you go inside of it, there are no more waves. In the ocean bed, there are no waves. It's only on the surface, right? So, the more we go deeper into our bhakti, the less we find the pushings of Maya affecting us, because we're on a very stable platform, right? We are aware about the temptations of Maya can create, but you're not affected by it so much. You're not affected by it. But when we're in a neophyte state, right, we're affected by all that is happening around us. And they tend to push us back towards our lower nature, wanting to enjoy, to this, to that, to do the wrong things, the forbidden things, this and that. So we tend to go back to our lower nature. So the answer to your question is that let us reach that platform of stability of consciousness. Is it okay?
Certainly, how we can be able to, okay, I reached the stage, like, for example, you have clear and you will reach the way.
I didn't follow.
Before reach Nishtha, we have clear and you will reach.
Yeah, another, that's a long.
So,
Another, it's like an ocean again, like a big ocean. But as I said, we also understand that Mahaprabhu is very merciful, right? So, again, the same thing. For ourselves to think that I'll get rid of my anarthas, I mean, to claim that I will see that my lust is conquered, my greed and my anger. If you say that, Maya said, okay, you just come out of the temple. Just walk out of the temple, I'll show you. You're saying all this in the temple, that's fine. You come out, I will show you. What? So then that resolution will last only till we are in this divine realm. The moment you go out, again, right? So, but again, the beauty of Krishna consciousness is that when we accept the attitude of being a humble servant, humility attracts the Lord like anything else. In fact, the only quality that attracts the Lord is humility, nothing else. Not knowledge, not charity, whatever else. Nothing attracts, only humility, right? So if all of us can adorn our consciousness, beautify our consciousness with this rare gem of a quality of humility, right? Then the process of unearthing becomes very easy because the Lord also intervenes in the process. Then it is no longer just our struggle, Lord is assisting in our struggle, right? Then it won't be as evil as it sounds right now. So we need that. So, sincere performance of sadhana bhakti and a genuine service attitude. This will be our two more important double-pronged approach towards our goal. And then Krishna really helps. Krishna sees, he's humble. He's humble, he's trying hard, but he's humble about it. But dear Lord, without your help, therefore, the example which really impressed me in the beginning is the example of the sparrow and Garuda. You know, it's difficult to get rid of unearthers, but the sparrow said, I will not give up. My eggs are gone here. I'm going to give my life for this. So with whatever minuscule effort you and I have in terms of getting rid of unearthers, we try our best. Then the Garuda of Krishna's mercy will come and said, okay, I'll do it for you. Okay, thank you very much. Madhuri, I think we should end here. It's been a long time, right? I thank you all for your patient hearing. Srila Prabhupada ki.
Thank you so much, Guru. Bless God, that is healing. I hope our family is hearing about definitely we should calculate that more than just starting. Especially at the family getting all of that. Thank you so much.